Putting it.
Good morning, everyone. You're very welcome to the Galway Science and Technology Festival Tech Career Talk in partnership with Genesys and NUI Galway. The aim of the Galway Science and Technology Festival is to encourage and inspire young people to choose careers in STEM. And our Career Talk series kicked off at the beginning of the year to talk to students directly about careers in science, technology, engineering and math. And Genesys and NUI Galway are here today to talk to you specifically about computer science and about careers in tech companies. It's one of the aims of the festival is to connect students directly with engineers and scientists to hear about their career stories and their career path to date, to get real advice and real input from people who've actually walked it and done their Leaving Cert or whatever courses they took and where they ended up and what their life is like on a day-to-day basis with the career in tech. So to start off today, I'm going to introduce you to Joe Smyth. Joe Smyth is VP and site lead of Genesys here in Galway.
Good morning. Let me just share this presentation and we can get started. Thanks, Anne. So as Anne said, I'm the Senior Vice President of R&D for Digital and AI at Genesys Worldwide and the site lead for Genesys Galway here. And I'm joined today with Claire Murphy, who's a software engineer at Genesys and a recent graduate of our college system. So, we really want to get across the message that software engineering is not something for, tech people in Dublin, right? Or that it's people coming in from other countries, whatever, to do with it. Software engineering is for our kids in our schools to come up to the system, go to college locally or wherever they want, and get a degree in computer science or electronic and computing or one of those courses, and then be able to go on to a very rewarding career in software engineering and technology, either in Ireland or, like in my own case, move away for a while and then come back. I'm originally from Claremorris in County Mayo. I went to St. Coleman's College in Claremorris, and then I went to UL and did electronic and computing back there. And then we'll talk a little bit about my career path after that further on. But that's the message today, is that software engineering is for all our kids, male and female, as a career opportunity to join that global commerce and industry that is software engineering. Okay, so let me move on. So I'm going to give an overview about Genesys and a little bit about my career, and then Claire is going to tell her story about how she got into software engineering. Who are Genesys? So we make cloud software for contact centers. So that's software that connects over 70 billion calls and chats a year between customers and business. So we have 3,000 businesses who use our software worldwide. So every time you connect to a contact center or do a messaging session over WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or on the web, there's a high probability you're going to be using Genesys software to do that. And in Galway, we develop software for artificial intelligence. So that's voice and chat bots, artificial routing, so determining who's the best available agent for a particular call coming in. Predictive engagement, is the person who's on the website or mobile application now looking for help, and we can offer that help in real time. And then the whole area of digital customer service, which is web messaging, connecting contact centers to WhatsApp and Twitter DM and Facebook Messenger and things like that. And that software is developed in Galway and sold worldwide. Some of our customers that Genesys have, pretty much all the top names in finance, healthcare, travel, communications. So Ticketmaster, Vodafone, Lenovo, Whirlpool, Microsoft, Apple is also a customer of ours. So all of those tech companies and businesses use our software to manage their interactions with their customers. My own career, so as I said, I did electronic engineering in UL a long time ago. Previous to that, I was in St. Colman's in Claremorris, where I did my Leaving Cert. And then when I graduated, I ended up in Apple in Cork, which at the time was primarily a manufacturing site. And I went into as a software engineer in test automation in the factory down there. I got lucky. As part of my work, I ended up getting a rotation into the head office in Cupertino in Silicon Valley, where I worked on the R&D of the MacBook and earlier versions of what we know as the Mac PCs, and particularly on the networking side of it. I was anxious to come back to Galway, so I came back to Galway and joined Digital in 1992. Digital promptly did a big reorg and shifted its manufacturing out of Ireland, and I ended up doing software engineering, moving with them to New Hampshire for 2 years because the projects that we were working on were important enough that they wanted to continue the project. So they brought us to New Hampshire. They sponsored us with green cards, and I moved to New Hampshire for 2 years. I was also getting married at the time, and myself and my wife became pregnant, and we decided we wanted to move back to Ireland. So I moved back again, this time to Nortel in Galway, where I was principal software engineer working on voice over the internet products. So Nortel's version of Skype, but we actually were there before Skype, and we filed a bunch of the patents that are related to things like switching to the loudest speaker on Zoom calls and Skype calls. That was one of the patents we filed out of Galway. So there's a lot of innovation and real research going on there. I was with Nortel up until 2006 when Cisco came to town, and I was the employee number 2 in Cisco here in Galway. And we built that out to 200 software engineers from the two of us started Cisco here in Galway. Then I stepped out of the multinational world and went to do my own startup with my co-founder Barry O'Sullivan. And we co-founded in 2013 a small company called AltaCloud. And this is one of my very favorite pictures from the first days. We actually, Magic was one of our first 2 hires that stand in front of a completely empty whiteboard where we were trying to develop the ideas from scratch to build the product. And that's one of the exciting things about being in a startup, is that there's real innovation going on right from the ground zero up. And it's a highly rewarding way of working and career path for those who want to take that extra bit of risk. By 2016, we had grown the team to 16 people, and we're starting to build our revenue. And we moved into the Porter Shed here in Galway, which is a co-working space and has become a powerhouse of the startup community here in Galway. Then in 2018, we got acquired by Genesys. At that stage, we were 22 people. And Genesys then, we really liked what Genesys wanted to do with our product. And they wanted to drive it on, build on top of it, expand on the AI side of things. And we really wanted we really liked what they wanted to do. So that's been very successful for Galway. The team continues to grow. This picture was taken about 18 months ago, before COVID for sure. And we were up to about 80 people at that point in time. And the growth continues. So from that 22 that we had in the first quarter of 2018, by January this year, on January 4th, we'll have an influx of new hires that'll take us over the 300 mark, take us to 309 staff in January. That includes 18 interns that will start at that date. And those interns are people doing software engineering or electronic and computing in local colleges that we will take in and give 9 months of work experience to. So that's a very important part of the Genesys story, is that we want to be involved with the community and work with the community. On the right there, you can see the vast majority of the staff is software. So the Genesys Cloud CX, digital and AI, that's all software engineers, as is platform engineering. And then the rest makes up other functions like customer success, and then HR, IT, marketing, very small marketing and sales presence here in Galway. So the vast majority of the people, the staff we have here in November, that's the 282 is the November date, are software engineers. So, and that's what we want to build out here at Galway. And as I said, we really want to connect with the community. We want to make sure that we're giving opportunities to the kids that come up through the school and college systems here in the west of Ireland and across the country. And I think that's the mindset of a lot of people say, oh, it's Google or it's Facebook or it's Amazon, whatever it is, and they're off in America. They're not. All of those have significant local operations that want to support the community they're embedded in. As that, we wanted to build our profile within the West of Ireland. Nobody knew who Genesys was when the acquisition happened. So we reached out and we sponsored both rugby men and women's teams to build our profile so that people can understand who we are and learn about us and raise our profile within the community. We also sponsor a range of smaller clubs across a range of sports here in the Galway area. And we have also, we're moving into Bonham Quay, which is a large part of the start of the redevelopment of the Docklands area here in Galway. Okay, so let's go back to how software is changing the world and why it's important that we make this shift to the newer technology economy rather than, what worries me is that we send all our smart kids to medicine and law. And they're fine opportunities and good career paths for a lot of people. But for a lot of other people, software really is a wonderful way to be able to build the future. If you think of the way the world has changed, particularly since the introduction of the iPhone in 2007, which is only 14 years ago, we do so much through software now that we didn't do before. If you look at Zoom has probably saved the world economy through the pandemic. Through COVID has meant we can give our lectures over and our classes over Zoom, and we can keep college going and school going, and we can run our businesses over Zoom. And then you get it, Teams is there as well. WhatsApp has significantly changed how we communicate. Deliveroo has changed how we consume our food. Airbnb has changed the hotel industry. Netflix has changed how we look at watch and consume movies and TV. And then there's all the social media stuff like Instagram and Snapchat and what have you. So this transformation is going to continue. We're seeing it now coming through into medicine, where the analysis of genetics is primarily done through software, and that's helping to identify mechanisms to combat disease. And even the mRNA work that was done for the vaccine was heavily driven by software. So right across the spectrum, software and the ability to write software is a fundamental enabler for you to join this emerging technology-driven world. So I'll take the example of Instagram. Instagram is very pretty much every person on the planet has it. Probably that's an exaggeration, but over 1 billion people on the planet have Instagram. And it's interesting how it's built up, right? So you see the application on your phone, but there's a whole ecosystem of stuff behind that. And this is the way many products are built. So user experience designers create the look and feel of the application on your phone and make sure it's easy to use. And that's another path, a corollary path to software engineering is user experience that appeals to many creative types who don't want to actually program. And user experience is a great way into this world as well. And they create the look and feel of how it works and making sure it's easy to use. And that's how Netflix has transformed how we consume software. and how we consume television through the user experience. It's easy to use. It offers you the types of programs you would like to see. It enables the top 10 to be shown. It's very visually stimulating just browsing through it. And it's a huge leap from where, say, VHS was 20 years ago, when they let engineers design the user interfaces. And that's what UX designers do. And then there's front-end software engineers who actually implement the software at that front end and work very closely with the UX designers. And then there's the back-end software engineers in the cloud services, where the photos for Instagram are stored, and those photos are served up, as are the videos and stories and the likes and the comments, and all of that information is stored safely on the back end in the cloud, and then served up when you refresh your stream on Instagram. And what appears on the stream is created by AI engineers who use algorithms to decide what photos and video to show each person. So everybody's Instagram feed is different, and it's tuned to your personality and to your viewing likes. And that's what AI engineers do. And then DevOps engineers help the whole thing scale up to the millions, and in Instagram's case, billions of users, so they can all be used and all at the same time without delays. And now and again, you see outages, and you can be sure there's a lot of DevOps engineers scrambling to fix those outages when they do happen. But for 99.9% of the time, they do an excellent job, and the services keep running day and night. And that's what DevOps engineers do. So, and all of this starts with a UX design or a computer science and electronic and computing degree, right? So I'm going to hand over to Claire now, and she's going to tell us her story.
Thanks, Joe. So yeah, I'm going to talk to you today about my journey through from secondary school through to now. I work as a front-end software engineer with Genesys. So like Joe was saying, the front-end software engineers, we work closely with UX designers to create that look and feel that the designers have designed. So a bit about me. I'm from Nina in County Tipperary. I went to school in St. Mary's Secondary School in Nina, and then I went on to study engineering in UCD. On the right hand side here, you'll see a few of my hobbies. So I always loved playing, like both playing and watching sports. And so I included them here because I think it's important. Like my experience of playing sports when I was younger has really contributed to my success as a software engineer. Everything in software is done on a team. So if you have them teamwork skills from a young age, it doesn't really matter if you don't have, you know, exposure to software from a young age. So in school then, I'll just walk you through, I didn't really know what I wanted to do as a career. I never looked at coding. I didn't look at computers in school. We used Microsoft Office in TY, but that was about it. My transition year work experience was it was great. You know, I worked in a pharmacy, the county council, nursing home, fast food van, but it didn't really help me narrow down where I wanted to work. It just narrowed down where I definitely didn't want to work. So kind of with that, I still wasn't sure what I was going to do, but for Leaving Cert then I chose technology, physics and chemistry. I chose these just, I like problem solving. So I said, these would be straightforward enough for me to go with, as I felt I had a good enough foundation with them. And then in sixth year, when I started actually looking at my CAO, I narrowed it down to kind of electronic engineering or computer science. Definitely, I didn't understand the difference between the two of them. And I think at the time, so I was a bit afraid of being expected to work on my own. I'm a social person. I like team sports. I like working with people. So for that reason, I didn't think computer science would be the career for me, because I kind of had that view, you know, that computer science would involve, you know, someone gives you work and you have to go away and do it by yourself. And, you know, like that's completely incorrect. Software engineering is a team sport. People have such a variety of different skills on the team. There's always someone there to help you out whenever you need help. So I didn't go for computer science. I went for general engineering in UCD. what I liked about that course was they give you a very general first year. So you kind of get a bit of a taster of mechanical engineering, civil engineering, biomedical engineering, and electronic. So I liked that it kind of kept my options open. So the main areas of study there was what I studied, I suppose, throughout the 3 years I was there: calculus, circuits, electromagnetics and energy systems. But what I really liked was actually the optional modules that UCD allow you to pick. So like on the left here, there's a photo of me in our robot war competition that we did in first year. So we built robots out of Lego and then programmed a small circuit onto it. And we pitted the robots against each other. I loved that module. So I kind of took that after first year and I started choosing more and more of these options that kind of included programming languages. And then so as I picked them up, I realized, I kind of like the optional modules far more than the core modules. So maybe computer science would have been the right place for me after all. So where I went with that then, I said, well, I was kind of halfway through third year and I said, there's no point in stopping now, because I saw UCD gives the opportunity to students to graduate just after 3 years with an engineering science degree, rather than the usual 5 years Masters of Engineering or 4 years Bachelors of Engineering. So I took that opportunity kind of with a view to maybe I should do a Master's in computer science. But then I started looking into career options with software, and I saw that I could actually go straight in with my engineering science degree into a graduate program. So I applied for a graduate program in Fidelity Investments, which is a US bank, and they're based in both Dublin and Galway. So I did the graduate program for 6 months in Galway. It was great. It had 3 months of classroom training at the start of it, which after a 4-year computer science degree, that might be the last thing some people want. But for me, it was perfect, as the few computer science modules I had done in college wouldn't have really prepared me fully for a career in software. Then the second 6 months of the program was with a team of the other graduates. We built something small for the business. This was really cool, as we got to work on the trading platform that people in the US actually make the stock trades on. So how them stocks are cleared, we got to work on that. That was great. I knew in that graduate program, this is the career for me. So after that graduate program, I was given a job by Fidelity in Dublin, in a team that worked with storing data, creating pension or 401k data visualizations for top level executives. Really enjoyed my time there. I had kind of great exposure to different technologies. So after 3 years in Fidelity between Dublin and Galway, I kind of decided I wanted to travel abroad. So I kind of looked around and I said, Vancouver is a big tech hub in Canada. So I said I'd move to Canada. Spent a summer applying for software jobs there. So I was delighted. I got started with a job in Central One Credit Union, building software for credit unions. This was great, as it allowed me to travel and it allowed me to further my career in software. So I kind of got a double whammy there, and it was brilliant. Loved living in Vancouver. It's famous for its hikes and its ski season. So there's just something to do there year round. But then I suppose I'd say everyone has a similar story. Once COVID hit, I decided I'd go home. So I came home, worked in a pharmacy for a month there at the start of COVID. And I started looking at jobs in Galway, because I'd worked in Galway for 6 months out of college and really liked that. So I applied for Genesys, and so here I am a year and a half later. So I started working with Genesys as a front-end software engineer, and I love that, so I'm still here. And then, so I hope that's kind of helped you give a little insight into my journey. Finally, this is why do I love a career in software? Like, problem solving is the heart of any job in STEM. It's not just software. But in today's world, a job isn't for life. The skills you learn in any career in STEM are so transferable to any industry. Problem solving is just at the core of everything. Especially in Genesys, you get to work with cutting edge technologies. You're always, everything changes in software so fast. So you're always learning. And depending on the company you work with, I'm lucky in Genesys, we really do work on cutting edge technologies. The work being done as a team is a major plus for me. Like I said, I love team sports. I'm a very social person. So it's great to have the support of the team around you whenever you've any issues with anything. And then lastly, the workplace is just really modern. The dress code is mostly casual. You know, you can be flexible with your start time, your lunch time, you know, as long as your team are aware of when you'll be around, it's kind of flexible enough. So I really enjoy that. Jed, that's an insight into my journey. I'll pass you back to Joe now.
Yeah, so just a summary of what we've been saying is that software engineers are a career for all and a huge opportunity for boys and girls with any, and the key is aptitude in maths, physics, applied maths, any of those science subjects. They don't, I'm sure Michael had covered, but they don't need to have been programming since they were 10 or whatever. And it's not an individual sport; it's a team sport. Once you get out into the industry and the wider world, and it's a creative endeavor. I think the biggest kick the software engineers I see and work with get is seeing their code turn into real product and being used by actual people out there in the world, and people get a great creative kick out of that. So we'll just wrap it up there. I think I've covered these points. There are over 2,000 jobs vacant in software engineering in Ireland today, 1,000 software companies that employ over 100,000 software engineers. That's growing. So there's tons of jobs in Ireland, and also it's a transferable skill. I was able to go to the States for a couple of years. Claire was able to go to Canada for a couple of years. You didn't have to do another degree or another certification to start working there. You just got employed rapidly, and then we had the opportunity to come back. So all around, it's a good place to be. So thank you, and we'll hand over to Michael.
Thank you very much, Joe. So I'm Michael Madden. I'm the head of School of Computer Science and the Professor of Computer Science in NUI Galway. I'll start sharing my screen now. So, some of the messages I have are quite similar to those of Joe and Claire. To summarize things and to here's my key message here. Here's one slide that captures everything that I want to tell you in the next 15 minutes or so. First, computer science is an excellent field of study for your students in your schools. It impacts on everything we do in the 21st century, as Joe said, and it leads to a great range of career options. It is for everyone. It's for girls and boys. It's for extroverts and introverts. As Joe said, you don't, people coming in to study computer science in university level, for example, don't have to have experience of coding. They don't have to be gamers. They don't have to be techies. We will teach them those things. What they do want to have is maybe, Claire talked about problem solving, creativity. If they have those kinds of interests, then we can give them the technical skills. And there's a great range of degree programs in NUI Galway that can start them on their journey, as I'll talk about. So NUI Galway, I'm sure many of you know NUI Galway, depending on what age you are, you might call it University College Galway. It's about 175 years old, one of Ireland's 7 traditional universities, nice campus in the middle of Galway City, links with universities across the world, about 18,000 students and about 2,600 staff, and over 100,000 alumni across the world. This is a drawing or image of NUI Galway from the 1850s or so. It was founded as Queen's College Galway back around that time, and the Queen's kind of line, or the lion and unicorn logo, is still around, but sort of hidden away around the back of the quad somewhere. So we rank in the top 1% of universities in the world. We've continued to grow and build new buildings all of the time. Some of our researchers, among the most highly cited researchers in the world, 98% of our graduates are either working or in further study within 6 months of graduating. So I think that's a really nice stat. And that's not just about computer science. This is in the university as a whole. So it's a really powerful statistic, I think. And the university has a large budget and continues to grow. I lead the School of Computer Science. So this was established back in 1991, so not that long ago. we were called information technology at the time, but we were a discipline. We've expanded and grown, and therefore in 2019 we became a school, which is kind of a larger unit in our university, the School of Computer Science. At the moment, we've got 28 academic staff, 7 support staff, and 40 research staff, but we're growing strongly, and currently recruiting will be adding 5 more people in the next couple of months. And we've got about 400 undergraduate students spread across our various programs, and about 200 taught postgraduates, and another 80, in fact 90 postgraduate research students, PhD students. We're part of the College of Science and Engineering in NUI Galway. There are 4 or 5 schools in the college: School of Computer Science, School of Engineering, School of Maths and Statistical Sciences, School of Natural Sciences, and School of Biological and Chemical Sciences. And so obviously we're one of those. There are several research centres, including the Insight Data Science Centre that we collaborate very closely with in our school. And our school is well ranked, well recognised nationally and internationally. The Times Higher Education have very recently brought out the 2022 World University Rankings, including by subject. And in the computer science subject, if you follow this link, you'll see NUI Galway is ranked in the same band as Trinity and UCD, ahead of the other universities in Ireland for computer science, and DCU, UCD, and UCC. So we're very proud of that recent announcement from Times Higher Education and rising up in the rankings there. So that's kind of generally about NUI Galway. But I suppose, you know, why would your students in your university, in your schools, want to study computer science? Who needs computer science and IT anyway? Now, I think Joe and Claire have touched on this a bit, but really, I would say echo some of the things they said, which is that everybody needs computers. Computers impact on all of our lives in all sorts of ways, but only some people get to create the next generation of computing systems, and that's what you get to do if you study computer science. So the medical industry, you know, obviously doctors are at the center of everything, but computer systems are really an integral part of all sorts of parts of medicine. This image here shows a surgeon performing robotic surgery. The surgeon is looking at a 3D virtual reality display and performing movements at human scale, so doing stitching, for example, that are translated by the robot system into much smaller movements, so scaling down those movements. So the doctor is kind of seeing something enlarged and working at human level, and that's transferred into much finer detailed movements. So this is a great application of computing, robotics, virtual reality networking systems. Obviously, we all know about remote work these days, and we're all very familiar with home automation. All of these things are enabled by great developments in computer science. And then Joe's talked about how companies like Zoom, they've obviously had huge increases in their capacity. We use a platform called Blackboard in the university. Blackboard, because it's a cloud computing platform, was just overnight able to increase its capacity tenfold just by calling their cloud computing provider and saying, hey, we need more space. And that's such an amazing flexibility that we have these days. And we get very few system outages because we've got this flexibility from cloud computing systems. Smart energy is going to be really important in tackling the climate crisis, and software is fundamental to managing energy systems and maximizing their efficiency. Autonomous vehicles in the future are going to be very heavily dependent on real-time computing and AI. There are companies in the Galway region, there's Valeo in Tuam, there's a Jaguar Land Rover down around Limerick, that are working on autonomous vehicles right now and with graduates from Galway. And artificial intelligence and machine learning are really transforming how we use computers. There's many applications: image recognition, natural language processing, autonomous vehicles, finance, online shopping, medicine. My own research is in machine learning and AI, and students in our courses will study AI and machine learning in their degree, and our researchers are working on exciting and ethical applications of AI in science, engineering, and medicine. Before I move on from this section, I want to leave you one last thought about studying computer science, and that is, I think that software developers are the modern version of the individual inventors from history. When I was a boy, when I was 10 or 12 years old, I wanted to be an inventor. Now, I didn't know what really an inventor was, but I used to draw rockets and cars in my son's copy. I never knew how I was going to build them. I never really thought realistically from a Christian Brothers school in Tuam that I'd be working in a NASA or working in a Formula One car company. So I didn't think these ideas would ever turn into reality. But then as a teenager, I discovered computers, and as a programmer, I realized I could imagine programs and make them real. And you don't need anybody's permission. All you need is the imagination to come up with an idea and the technical skill to write the software. And you don't have to be working in some huge company like SpaceX or Tesla. You can change the world from a laptop in your bedroom. And so, I think that's really powerful. Students come to us with their ideas. We can give them the skills to change the world and to be the great new inventors. So what are the career paths are there for computer science graduates? Well, graduates of our degrees, such as GUI 350, work in all sorts of companies, Genesys, of course, Havoc, Amazon, Bioware, Fidelity, all of these companies shown here. I mean, some in the Galway region, others in other parts of Ireland, others across the world. Product development, games, finance, multimedia, research, telecoms, internet technologies, medical informatics, consulting, entrepreneurship. Sometimes, often graduates of computing set up their own companies, like Joe and his colleagues did. And, you might think if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, that maybe you should study business, but the reality is that businesses are generally started by somebody who's able to solve a problem, who has the technology skills. So that means it's all their tech companies are started by tech people. And then they recruit business people to help develop the company with them or partner with them in starting up the company. But the kernel there is very often a computing or other tech graduate. It's a popular job, a positive job. People who are working in software enjoy their job. We've seen how Claire speaks very warmly of her job. There's a company called Glassdoor that does a survey to identify the best jobs in America. This is a website where current and former employees anonymously review companies. So they have a lot of insight into the number and quality of positions. And they've ranked Java developer, Java as a programming language as their top ranked profession. Data scientist, that's another computer science degree program. Product manager is also another. So really all of these top 5 jobs in Glassdoor are all software related. Enterprise architect doesn't mean sort of architect in the designing building sense. This is software architecture. And DevOps is something that Joe mentioned, is the people who kind of keep the wheels on the bus, keep software, scale up software systems and keep them running. So, 8 out of the top 10 jobs in 2021 would be filled with graduates from computer science degrees based on that Glassdoor survey. It's a well-paid job. And graduates, obviously, there's a lot of mobility, as Joe and Claire have talked about, and going from software engineer to principal engineer manager, based on payscale.com, we can see, potential salaries well in excess of 100,000 over time. And now that I've spoken about, the general programs, let me talk about, how you'd study in NUI Galway. So there are multiple different degree offerings in Galway. We've got a primary one is a bachelor's in computer science and information technology. There's also, with our colleagues in electrical and electronic engineering, we teach software into their electrical electronic engineering program. And there's also a joint program we deliver with electronic engineering that's called electronic and computer engineering. So really your students, if they want to do primarily software, primarily hardware, or half and half, we've got all of those options in Galway. And all of those can be accessed through undenominated engineering, the same kind of program that Claire talked about. We have an undenominated program in NUI Galway as well. And students coming into the undenominated engineering program can go into any one of these programs in second year. We also have in Galway a sort of a distinctive option that is a Bachelor of Arts degree with information technology, where students do, a double major in Galway. Some of you may have studied in the BA, so the students might do English and philosophy or French or German, and so on. Usually they start off with 3 subjects and they do a pair specialize in 2. And one of those 2 subjects can be information technology. That's a solid software development module or program that we have in the Bachelor of Arts. But it's not quite as in-depth as our full computer science degree because it's half of a 3-year degree, not a full 4-year degree. However, we do have follow-on programs, conversion master's programs, 1-year higher diplomas and masters in software design and development, both traditionally classroom-based and online versions, for graduates of the BA or other graduates like civil engineers or business students who can do those and kind of move into the software industry. And then we have a range of advanced master's programs, like our master's in computer science, artificial intelligence, or master's in computer science, data analytics. We have a higher diploma in analytics and visualization. We have AI for managers, post-PG cert, and our graduates often proceed to PhD research as well. So we've got a lot of different options and a lot of different pathways for students moving through the university system. GY 350 is a core one. This is our major, computer science and software engineering degree with an 8-month work placement in year 3, lots of that project work, teamwork, options to do extra maths for students who want that, a respective professional degree that's accredited by Engineers Ireland as a professional software engineering degree. And it's great for students who have an interest in problem solving, creating new things, or doing research. And they have to have a good standard of physics, math, or other numerate subjects, good pass or better. There are other pathways, like you could do the Bachelor of Arts with IT, or you could do the BSc in Science, or you could do engineering. The Bachelor of Arts program, I spoke a bit about, so I won't spend too much more long on it. But first through all 4 years or 3 years, you can study computing subjects if you select that. And the careers for people with the BA really depend on what they studied along with IT. So if they study IT in English, they might move on to journalism, for example, or IT in languages might move into translation or somewhere. And really, in NUI Galway, there are quite a few different pathways to a career in computing. There's GY 350, the BSc Computer Science and IT at the bottom, but also in GY 301, the general science degree, that's got computing and data science pathways as well as and computing. So computer science pathway, computing and maths pathway, and data science pathways, all sorts of various flavors. So it's a good degree program for students who would like to explore computing and maybe other things. And in fact, you can transfer into GY 350 at the end of first year, GY 301, if you've done the right subjects, if you really want to focus on computer science. The engineering degrees, there's undenominated engineering. Again, you can move into computer science at the end of first year, or you could do electronic and computer engineering, or just electrical electronic engineering, which is a strong computing component as well. And then the Bachelor of Arts, as I already talked about, there's a couple of different options there, including this very interesting one, GY 133. This is the BA in Education, Computer Science and Math Studies. This is to educate the next generation of secondary school teachers. As you all know, there's now a computer science as a leading cert subject. And this degree program here is to become a computer science and maths teacher. So it's accredited by the Teaching Council of Ireland for both teaching computer science and teaching maths. And so we hope that'll be an important way of filling pipeline of computer science secondary school teachers into the future. That's about all I have for you. There's some more information here. There's a website and Twitter page, and you can always contact me, send me an email message. We've had a recent online open days, but in-person open days are planned to return in the spring towards the end of March, and I hope that will go ahead. So thank you very much for your time and attention. I'll leave up that last slide there with my key messages for you, and I'm done. So I guess now we're handing over to Tara, is that right, to lead the Q&A?
Sorry, Tara. Yes, thank you, Michael. That was super, super informative, and it's great to see the detail of the courses and how they link into other careers and the journey that people can take, and for Joe and Claire to bring it all together in what those courses lead you into. One of the defining factors, I think, there is absolutely the opportunity in the careers, the salary, the environment that they work in is just so positive, and certainly something to be considered by students. So we're going to open the floor. If any of the participants have any questions today, Tara, there you might manage some questions there if there's any questions coming in. I'm not sure if there are. The one in the chat.
Yes, but if anyone wants to type it or unmute and ask a question, this amazing panel, please do take the opportunity to do so.
No, I think we're good. Just to let everybody know, this is recorded and it will be available on the Galway Science YouTube channel for you to share with your colleagues and also with your students. I think it's well worth the view. So thank you to the team at Genesys and to Professor Michael Madden from NUI Galway this morning. And thank you, Tara.
Thank you, Anne.
Thanks, Anne. Thanks, everybody.
Cheers.
Thank you very much.